All right, friends and family, thank you for tuning into Teacher Danny's live stream. Today we got a special request to go over. Let me show you my pretty eyes. Hold on, let me get some light in them because they look kind of deep, so you know. Great, screenshot that. All right, so today I'm going to be in the headset mostly, and we're going to build an in-game currency. Okay. And the specific thing about it is we're going to use Codblocks as opposed to using Typescript. So that's why I get to be in the headset, which I really enjoy building in the headset. I'll try to remember to keep my head still since this is a tutorial. Okay, so here's just a world that I build some things in, and I figured I could, already got things set up. So let me use this as the place to set up our in-world currency. Okay, so here's an important part of programming. Before you start doing all the, here, let me show you what kind of stuff we're going to be, scripts. Man, my thing is loud. All right. See, before we start doing all this and moving all these things around, before we do any of that, we got to come up with a plan. Now, I like to use the original iPad. Oh, it's one of those yellow writing pads, but I don't know, for some reason it's like showing up invisible. Anyway, but for the sake of showing everybody, I just put some notes here. All right. So when you're programming, you got to plan. You got to come up. You don't have to plan. Like, you can do it on the way. But it helps. It helps to have a plan. So let's have a plan. Our plan is for in-game currency. Okay. What should it do? A player will step on a square with a number on it and increase their coins by that number. So I'm going to make a bunch of squares because the way we're going to add and subtract currency is with triggers, and you can't see triggers. So when you're playing, you can't see triggers. So we're going to put blocks down, and we know that those blocks represent the triggers. We'll add some texts also. All right, now then, what are they going to do? They're going to use that currency to teleport to other places. So I'm going to put some other circle. So I have squares for the triggers that are going to give you money. And then I'm going to have circles for the ones that will teleport you somewhere and lower your money. So it'll do something for you. I was thinking about, let me just set it up where it just takes your money, and then you all can figure out how to script it, or what you want it to do. But I was like, let me just add an action in there. I don't think this is going to take too long. All right. I'm messing with the controllers, and I'm wondering why I don't see it on the screen. And I'm realizing because the screen is not controlled by my controllers. Isn't that a great story? Okay. So let me get you back in here. Okay, so we got our plan. So what were the things that we were supposed to get? We were supposed to get a script we're going to make a script where we check the currency. So you're going to use this script, and you'll know which amount, like how much currency you have. You'll like walk up to it, and we'll make a text. Let's go ahead and make the text with it now. And the text can tell you how much money you got. All right. And let's see. So I have a script. I'm going to just name it Money Checker. Got to do my camel case because you can't have spaces, but that way you can, it's easier to see in between the words. All right. You know what? I'm going to bounce back and forth between this. I really want y'all to see the plans. Oh, and in case you think I'm just looking at this because I need to see the plans, I already know that the first thing it wants me to do is make a player persistent variable. And the reason I want to go to the plans is I've already skipped the first step. If I follow the plan, I feel like it'll go better. So basically, this is the beginning of the video. 13 minutes and 7 seconds. All right. So first things first, we're going to make player persistent variables. What is a player persistent variable? It is a number that can be held representing anything you want. You label the number, and then you can change that number, and it stays for that player. So if that player, let's say I set the currency to 100, so he has like $100. If he leaves, usually everything gets reset. But when he comes back, because it's a persistent variable, they will still have the 100. It will still last. And now they have it to where persistent variables can go to others of your world. So if I have a world here where they spend $100 or win $100 or coins or hearts or whatever, then they can go to one of my other worlds and spend them, which is pretty cool, or vice versa, all that. All right. So first things first, let's make a player persistent variable. On the headset, what we're going to do is we're going to hit the left button while we're in the left menu button. I know you can barely see it, but it's the indented button. You know how to bring up this menu, okay? If you're already ready to start doing some currency. Why is it doing the thing where it doesn't let me move it? Okay, I can only move it that way. That's all right. All right, so the way we do that is we have these 7 choices down here. We're going to go to Systems, and then we're going to go to Variable Groups, and then we're going to create a variable group. See, I don't have any. So let's just call it currency. And add to this world. Yes. Thank you. Description. No thanks. Now, we have a currency group. Now we got to create the actual variable. Okay? And let's just call them coins. You have that, coins. All right? And it's a number. So now I have this variable. So again, just to remind you all, when you first go into variable groups, you variable groups under Systems. You click variable group, and then before I didn't have a group, now I have a group. And then, when you create that group, you click on it and you go inside the group, and then you can create a variable. So I can create other variables. Look, I'm going to hold 100 just for this one group. Seems like a lot. Okay. So, and this is what I love about Codblocks. A lot of this is already set up for you. So, how to read persistent variables. It takes like a paragraph. Well, okay, maybe it's just a long sentence. But anyway, I'm going to set up a trigger that when you step onto it, it'll tell you how much you have in, what's it called? In gold coins, or whatever the coins are. So step on the trigger, it'll read how many coins you have. So let's label this text as the coin checker text. Now for objects and things, you can have spaces in there, so that's fine. Okay, and what's the text in there? Coins. I'll just say coins. And as soon as we change that, it'll change to a number, but I'm going to set it up in a way that it keeps the word coins there. Okay? Now let's get a trigger for it to step into. Let's put the trigger zone. I just saw that they got this little billboard thing here. Let me just put this here. I think that'd be a good place to put it, right? And then put the text, right there. See what that looks like. Yeah, perfect. Okay, we don't have to bring the script over there. We might as well. Okay, now let's start writing the script. So what we're going to do is when player enters the trigger, we're going to check the persistent variable. That's it. Okay, so we can erase one world just started. We get our event when trigger is entered by player. And think about it. Like, you walk into this trigger to activate it, but if you just touched it with your hand, just reached out and touched it, that would also count. So what a lot of people do is they'll do buttons. So just imagine each one of these pieces of paper has its own trigger on it, and you could touch it and be like, okay, I spent $5 on this, or I spent $2 on that, whatever. And each trigger could do something different. So it doesn't have to be like walk into it. The whole player doesn't have to enter it. You can just touch it. All right, when the trigger is entered by player, we're going to display some text. Yeah, over here in actions, the only text one, we're going to display text. What are we going to display? I'm going to put a plus sign in there because I want to put the word coins in there. So put a plus sign, display plus on self. Okay. So we're going to put in just the word coins with a string input. And then we're going to put in the actual amount of coins. And how do we do that? Very, very easily. Okay, so we're here on value. Go to the very top of value. And persistent variables, just really just these two. So you can set persistent variables or you can get them. When you set them, you change it. When you get it, you're seeing what the number is. So you like go get it, but you're not like taking it, you're just looking at it. You're like, oh, what is the value of the persistent variable? Which right now is going to be 0. But let's give somebody, okay, well, hold on. So it's going to say coins. Let me put in a space and a colon. Okay, so we put in get player persistent variable. So now it says select it. So we're going to choose which one. Well, we only have one. So I check the group, I check the variable, and that's it. It's the coins one. Oh, why didn't it? Didn't work. There we go. 4, and then triggers entered by player. So we're going to show the value for that player. And where are we going to show it? Are we going to show it on itself? No, we're going to add a text gizmo because triggers can't display anything. So let's see. Let's make a text gizmo. It's an object. Drag that over. So now we're gonna have to connect it, the text box to that, but that's okay. So display the coins value for player on. Oh, why does it come off? Okay, but here it's gonna have a problem, and I'm gonna tell you why in a second. But first, let me set this trigger to the script. All right, so the trigger is gonna have, what's the name of the script? Money checker. Man, I got a lot of. Okay, and it wants me to put the text in there. So I go to the text, I open up its properties manual, I grab the blue pill, I slide it in there to text. So now when I step in there, it should read how many coins are in there, but well, okay, so it's not doing anything yet. And, oh, what are you saying? Unhandled compilation, 1 or more errors. Type error in Facebook. Okay, scripting add operation. So here's the thing. When I said get the persistent variable for currency coins value, what is that? That's a number. And numbers are, you do math with numbers. Now you can do a string, which is like words, but when numbers are in a string, it's just, the text. It doesn't read it as math. So in here, if I wrote coins, I could write more numbers in there. Anyhow. So I can't add like a string to a, there are ways to do it, but instead, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to make a copy of this so I don't have to. No, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and erase the persistent variable because I want us to do it again. Okay, so now we have to add it as a string. So variable as a string. In, what's it called? In Typescript. Why am I talking about Typescript? All right. But there's ways to do this. There's ways to do everything in Typescript. Okay, so now let's get the player persistent variable for currency coins for the player, and then display that on the text. And this should go away in a second. There we go. So now I walk in here, and now what's the problem going to be? Coins, 0. Oh, okay. Boom. There we go. It's pretty accurate, right? So now we have it already working. Let's make let's give it a little edge. Let's say when the trigger is exited by player, text becomes back to normal. So when this is so unnecessary right now, but you know, just details, I guess. Okay, when trigger is exited by player, display all this? No, just that. Okay, so watch this. Oh, oh, what happened? How'd that happen? Okay, that should be good. Go away. It's okay for you to go away, error. Nobody's mad at you, you know, but it's not your time. And there we go. Bada bang. All right. So now let's do things that add to those coins. So maybe you would have coins all around here. And you know what? We can do that. We can do coins. No, you know what? We're gonna stick with the plan. Oh, that's something I bought off of Evil Smirk. His stuff's so good. He was doing a sale for Halloween. Really cool stuff. It's scary. I don't want to show you just yet, though. All right. Let's look at our plan. The next plan should be about making the other triggers. Trigger for spending. Yep. Okay. All right, so triggers for spending. Okay, let's get another trigger out. Remember I said I wanted to put these on blocks. Just so I know where they are. And you know what? Let's give it a better color. Well, different color. Let's make them red. Okay. Okay, so when you step on this, you're going to gain. I know it said spend, but before we spend, we have to gain some. So we're going to step on these triggers, and this trigger is going to add coins to our currency. Okay, so this one's going to need its own script, and here is where I'm going to show you a cool trick to really save some time. We're going to make a script that we can use on multiple triggers, and each one can be adjusted. So I'm supposed to make one that spends money, and I was going to make another one that gives you money, but instead I'm just going to make it what's it called? I'm just going to make it a more universal one, okay? So let's see. I probably should do 2 at least. All right. So we'll call this Money Giver. All right. You know, I'm not making it as pretty as I normally would. Okay. So Money Giver. When player enters trigger, let's raise the amount. When triggers entered by player, let's set. So remember before we came here to get persistent variable? Now we're going to set persistent variable too. Which one? Currency, coins. And what are we going to set it to? We're going to set it to whatever it was before plus a number. What you doing? Interesting. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the persistent variable. So I'm changing it. I'm setting it to whatever itself was, the value of that number for that player. Oh, let's check the. And then do, let's see, value for player. And then we're going to add an amount to it. I could just give it a hard-coded a number, but here's what we're going to do. We're going to give it an amount. And we're going to leave it, it's a number. So this way, it can be, we'll have it by default be 1. So if you don't mess with these triggers and people step in this trigger, it will add by 1. And it says set this player persistent variable to something for the player. So make sure we add player in there. Okay. So every time you go in there, it's going to give you a coin. And let's see if it works. So its script is called money giver. I mean, we're almost done, basically. Money checker, but money giver. There we go. All right, so remember, we go over here. How many coins do we got? Nada. Okay, I just stepped on here. I stepped on there, so must have stepped on the trigger. 1 coin. See that? And so every time I step on there, I'm going to get another coin. So the important part of this script is the, changing a player persistent variable. Everything else you guys probably pretty much know how to do. And if you don't, hit me up, man. We'll get specific. I'll get in here with you and we'll build it. Okay. So now let's do this. Let's add a text box because I'm seeing that we're pretty much done. So let's just add a text box. You know what? I shouldn't change its size. There we go. Let's add a text box to say amount. We'll just call it the amount. Okay. And all it's going to do is going to list how much default will be 1. And then let's go back to the script for the trigger, right? So let's do this. When the world is started, let's display text. You'll see why. Because I'm going to attach every single one of these to a text gizmo. Okay. So there we go. Now there's a 1 on there. And so when the world is started, we're going to display what on self? Let's display whatever the amount is as a string. So variable as a string, we're going to display a string. And what are we going to display as a string? The amount. And then we're going to display it on what? On the text gizmo. So we'll just make a text gizmo. Okay, and then when we do it, we got to put in the space for the text gizmo. So right down there is the text gizmo that we called amount. There you go. All right, so when the world is started, it's going to set that number to whatever is in amount. Now let's look at this. Thank you, number. Thank you, script. Now look at this. The amount. Remember, we set it to 1 by default, but we can change it to whatever we want. So let me change it to 5 then. Each trigger got of its own. And look, it automatically changes to 5. And now, let's see what my coins are. 4. There's this glitch where you can't rotate when you're editing or whatever. Okay, so it was, I forget what it was. I think it was 4. So I just stepped on it while it said, while it said 5. There we go, 9. Okay, So here's what's cool about this. You have this script. You got it, one instance of it. We could just leave it over here with the other script. We got one instance of the script for how much money something gives you. So let's say, you know, but let's make some copies of it. And we can go in and we can change the amount for each one. So let's see, that one's 5. Let's say this one's, you know, 50. Say this one's 1,000. Whatever you want. And the text already automatically comes up, and that's not even the important part. I just, you know, look how easy it is to like automate stuff. So I had like 9. Now I'll add another 5 and another 50. And you know, you could set up the trigger that when those things happen, like, you know, let's look at the script again. When those things happen, you can have other things happen too. You can have a sound effect play, you know, just go over here, play sound, or play some kind of special effect, or you know, send some event or something. Okay, so that's how you get them to spend money. I mean, get money. Now, I'm going to get a little more detailed into this, but you could even use these for the ones where you spend the money. So let's say this one, you get 50. You get 5. This one, you get 50. Let's set this one. Let's say you lose 10. So we'll say -10. That's the amount. Okay, so let's go check out our number again. I think it was 64 last time we checked. 64. Then let's go on to the -10. So it should be 54. There we go. All right, so that's it. So that's the whole thing, plus some. I should do like a real shortened version of that. I could probably get done that in like 3-4 minutes if I just got to the point. But you're on. Okay, good. You saw the video. I hope. If you want, you know what? I'll do it one more time real quick, because after I did all this, I was like, man, I need to make one where I just go straight through it. Okay, but let me finish this last little detail, and then I'll do the rest. And I don't know if you're still watching, but if you are, then you know you'll see it. And if not, you know, you can just watch it. That's the good thing about lives on YouTube. I just want to do lives on YouTube because it's automatically up. That's it, and now it's in your thing. I don't have to, you know, post it or whatever. All right. So let's say you wanted to add something to one of these scripts, okay? You would have to give it its own script if you wanted it to do something, right? So let's get its own script. Okay. And let's call this one teleporter. I'll have this one teleport. And this is like it actually doing something and spending your money. So we'll say if, and we'll say we'll see if you have enough. If it's greater than, okay, so if what is greater than? If your persistent variable of money for player. When world is started. Oh, well, I got to do player enters trigger anyway. So, because then it has, and it has the player variable there. Okay, so if your amount of coins for that player, whoever steps in this thing, is greater than, let's say greater than or equal to. Greater than or equal to. And whatever the cost is that we want to have for this thing. So let's say 10. You know what? We can do it a variable too. So that way, you know, you can set it up however you want. Let's call it cost. Why would I do that? Let's say the cost is 10. And again, you're going to be able to change that. So if it does that, then whatever action we put under there will happen. So let's just have it teleport. Okay, we'll use the respawn player. And we'll respawn them to a spawn point. Okay, so we're going to respawn them there, but we shouldn't just, I mean, let's take their money now that they've respawned. So let's take the cost. So we'll say set player persistent variable to, all right, and which one? You know which one, the only one. Set it to what? Well, we're going to set it to whatever the variable is at now minus 10. So let's put in the minus sign. And I could just copy it from up here, but let me just, if I do it up here, then you get a little more reputation. Get persistent variable for player. And I'm going to copy that in there. I don't just drag it because it would erase it from there, you know? Okay. For player. Oh gosh. It does this thing where like scripts just disappear. That is so weird. All right. All right, let me make a copy of this real quick. Oh, that's not what it means. Yeah, sometimes they disappear, and I know how to find them when I'm in Typescript. You know what? Maybe I can find it. Is it in the library? Yeah, how weird. What was it called again? Cost? Teleporter. So weird. Okay, I'm going to set you to teleporter. All right. So let's get back to that script before we were so rudely interrupted. All right. So if the variable is greater than or equal to the cost, which we've set at 10, then you're going to respawn the player to a spawn point. We'll plug that in a second. Then we're going to set their variable, the same one up here that we just checked. We're going to set it to whatever it is now. And let's do minus. Okay. Yes, player, go in there. Come on, player. Player. All right. Persistent variable for player minus whatever. I'm going to pull the trigger. I'm not going to let go of the trigger. I come down here and I tap right because that duplicates, and then I let go. Okay, I don't want to just drag it because then it'll erase it from up here. All right, and then again, we'll use that player for, that's the player that we're changing the value for. Okay, so it will respawn you and it'll set your currency to whatever it is, minus 10. And again, we could connect it to, what's it called? Here, let's put the trigger right there. And we could connect it to, like, you know, text also and do all that same stuff, but, you know, not necessarily necessary. Now let's add the spawn point for that. So this is the trigger. It already has the script on it. And then we'll put the spawn point, just put on top of this building. Just be cute, you know. Come on. All right. And take that spawn point, drag it into where I put SP there. See? And now, if I have 10, which I do, and I go to, gosh, I don't know how loud that must be on the thing. I think my sound is probably really low today. All right, if I step up here, it should take away 10 and teleport me. So I've been teleported. Okay, so here I am at the top of the building. Let's look at my... And there you go. I mean, that's pretty much it. So here, let me knock it out one more time. Okay? This is how confident I feel. I'm just going to erase it all. Shaking my head all over the place. All right. So to the millions at home, this is probably the part I'm going to have to chop up and make it to a video. Okay, let me see. And let me just lock all this stuff in place. Check her text. I left that up there. Keep clicking on things, so I'm just gonna lock everything up. And that way when I touch things it won't mess up. Okay. So first things first, and I'm gonna just go through the whole thing. I'm not gonna chit chat. All right, first things first, we set up a script and a trigger and a text. Okay, this is where we want the trigger to go. This is where we want the coins to be. Yeah, I know. I just like my capitals. Okay, and now set up the script. The script's name is script. When trigger is entered by player. Get display text. And what text are we going to do? Well, we're going to do a variable as a string. And get that player persistent variable. And we're going to display it on a text gizmo. Okay. And I could remember, I could do the plus sign and have it do coins plus. Oh, whatever. I'll just do it. I just like it to, be a certain way. What? What are you doing plus? Give me the plus, man. See, when you do plus with two strings, see, we're going to convert it to a string. And when you make a variable as a string and add it to another string, it just puts them together. That's all it does. Okay, so display variable as a string. What's the variable? It's going to be the persistent variable. Okay, we're going to display, oh no, that's the second part. We're going to display coins. All right. So let's see. When I go in there, it'll display coins and my. Oh, I got to connect it. So first of all, I'll put the script actually on the trigger, which is called script. Add the text in. Okay, got 44. And I'm not going to put in the exit and turn back to 0. Okay, so now let's add the spendy ones. Okay. Just do any old shape. I got to change the colors. That's too annoying. Just change one. Okay. And that's just a marker so I know where to put everything. So the gizmo is going to go on top of it. Okay, and the script is going to go with it. The script is called script 1. And when player enters trigger, when trigger is entered by player, we're going to set the persistent variable. Okay? We're going to set it to set the currency to whatever it was plus. So what number? So it says we're adding 2 numbers. So the first number is the persistent variable. Which variable? Coins. Value for who? The player. And then what are we going to add? We're going to add whatever. Number, I'll just say coin. And it's going to add, we'll just put it 1. And then we're going to change that value for that player and make it the value for the player, okay? So, you know, when it says player there, it's usually easy to figure out what, you know, which player to do, okay? So that's it. Every time once I connect the trigger. And what's this, script 1? All right. So here, let's put it a little bit closer. Okay. So it's 44, and I check again. You know, it's 44. If I step in here, it should go down. It should go up by 1. So I stepped on it. Now let me go toward where that trigger is. There we go. And again, if you want this to be a cost one, if you want this to be a cost trigger, then you just give it a negative number. And they all can have the same script. Now the thing is, if you want actions to happen, then yeah, you're gonna have to have different. Actually, there is a way to make this a universal script. You know, you would give it like 10 different options, and then you could change the options in here. That's a whole nother lesson. But that's the in-game currency. So I hope that's helpful. If anybody else has requests, please let me know. I think I explained anything. I'll stay on for about another couple minutes in case anybody has a question. Wow, 10:03, perfect. When did I start? How long has this video been going for? Come on, Danny, check your. I'm getting better at the computers. I can use the computers. You wouldn't even believe it. I'll be adding up the numbers. Any 2 numbers. Just add them right up. Come on, Danny. Check your... Am I quiet? I'm going to show you a cool trick to really save some time. Okay. So, everybody, thank you so much. I just want to remind you guys that Meta Horizon Worlds is having a contest. The deadline is October 30th. Anyone in the Meta Horizons Creator Program, MHCP, can join. Can participate. $2.5 million worth of prizes. Top prizes being $200,000, and several prizes worth $30,000 and up. This is not an ad for them. I'm not getting sponsored. I mean, in a way, I am getting sponsored because I'm using their platform. I'm using their, technology, and because of them, I'm able to do a lot. I get to do show anyway. There is no other place like Meta Horizon Worlds in that you can just get on and you pretty much can start making a lot really fast. Listen, Roblox has great systems. VR chat isn't like too hard. Well, it is. VR chat's a little tough, but then there's like Rec Room and other places where you could build like this, but not like this. Okay, and now with all the Gen AI that they got in the editor, you know what? I guess I got to go back to some of those other worlds and check them out. I'm talking about all this with like years of like I haven't touched Roblox in over a year, and that's because I was teaching some students. Look at that, yeah, big muscle. I mean, it was. You should have seen me in the Navy, boy. I was jacked. All right, y'all. So that's teacher